happy Mother's Day to all the moms to be, the like moms to someone. And today in my devotional, I will be talking about a mom. And I'm talking about a mom whose example of faith and courage impacted a whole nation and all of her 3 children. And this mom's name is Jochebed, the mother of Moses. And her story is found in Exodus 2, verses 1 through 10. I'll read very quickly. It says in verse 1, "Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could not hide him any longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. Her sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying. She felt sorry for him. 'This is one of the Hebrew babies,' she said. Then her sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, 'Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?' In verse 8 it says, 'Yes, go,' she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, 'Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you.' So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, 'I drew him out of the water.'" And just want to give just a little background on the opening of this chapter. You see, the children of Israel were living in Egypt in slavery they were in Egypt for approximately 4 years. And Joseph had saved the country from famine. But after he died, he was eventually forgotten by the pharaohs. And this particular pharaoh, at the time of the story, he became afraid of the Israelites because there were so many of them. And he thought that maybe they would join his enemies and fight against him and rebel against him. So he enslaved them. But they still continued to grow more and more, and they multiplied. So then he ordered that the baby boys be put to death. So it was in this environment that Jochebed, a Levite woman, becomes pregnant. This is her 3rd time being pregnant. She already has 2 children, Miriam and Aaron. But this pregnancy is different. You see, this pregnancy is more stressful because she knows that if her baby is a boy, he will be killed. So you can imagine her anxiety when she realizes that she's pregnant. There's a 50% chance that it's going to be a boy. But even outside of that, her being pregnant, she's already stressed because they're enslaved. The situation is very stressful. She and her people are slaves, and they're treated very harshly by the Egyptians. So knowing human nature, I would say that it's very easy for someone in her position to see her situation as hopeless. She can maybe even feel abandoned by God, because here she was, one of God's chosen people, and they're enslaved. And now, what could get worse? Now they're going to kill every baby boy that is born. And she might even question if God is really who he said he is. Was he really the God of Israel? So then Jochebed has her baby, and her fears become reality. It's a boy. But does Jochebed lose heart? She trusted God. Jochebed trusted God. She trusted that God would deliver her baby from death. I believe that even before Moses was born, before she knew what sex the baby was, they didn't have ultrasound then, but before she knew, she was praying for guidance. She was praying for wisdom. She was praying for direction. Which way do I go? What do I do? And it says that When the baby was born, she hid him. Hebrews 11:23 says that by faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months because they saw that he was no ordinary child, and they were not afraid of the king. She was not afraid of the king. She trusted God. She said that she saw he was no ordinary child. So she saw something special in that child, and she said, I don't care what the circumstances is. God can do something with my baby, and he's going to save my baby. And so she trusted that. She hid him, and she trusted that he wouldn't be found out. Even, can you imagine? Babies cry. But she trusted that God would protect him. And it says that when she couldn't hide him anymore, she devises this brilliant plan. You know, and I know that that plan came from God. Because think about it. You know, who would think to do that? That plan came from God because she was praying, trusting, and looking to God for direction. And she makes a basket of bulrushes, and she covers it with tar to waterproof it. You know, we should call it Moses' Ark. And she puts baby Moses in it. And then his sister Miriam watches over him. And Pharaoh's daughter, as we heard in the story, she came to bathe, and she discovers him, and she wants to keep him. So then Miriam enters the picture right now, and she goes to the princess, and she says, well, do you want a nurse for him? And of course, we know the story. She gets her mom, and Jochebed gets to nurse her own baby. She raises her son until he's older, and then she has to give him up for adoption to Pharaoh's daughter. So what lessons can we learn? What lessons can we learn from this story? Well, the first thing we can learn is unrelenting faith. Jochebed had unrelenting faith. She never gave up. She did not think that it was impossible for God to save her son, because she knew that the God of Israel had power to save. You see, she knew that the God she serves specializes in the impossible. You know, Anna Matthews used to sing that song. God specializes in the impossible. He can do anything. So she trusted him. She trusted in his faithfulness to provide and to protect her son and her family. So what can we learn? We can learn that when we are faced with circumstances that seem impossible, when life seems impossible, situations seem impossible, when we feel inadequate and hopeless in our situations, we can turn our problems, our situations, our whatever our trials, we can turn it over to God, because he specializes in the impossible. And Jochebed's story can also be a source of encouragement to a young woman who is faced with an unplanned pregnancy, and she may feel she cannot have a baby, she cannot take a baby, and she cannot take care of her baby, rather, and she may feel that her only way out is to end the life of her baby. She can take encouragement in what Jochebed did, because Jochebed's baby was doomed to death. But she had faith that God could find a way to save her baby, even if it meant giving it up for adoption, because that's actually what Jochebed did. She gave her baby up for adoption. God can find a way. So, you know, we as Christians can encourage, if we know someone in that situation, we can use her story even as a source of encouragement that God, who specializes in the impossible, is able to save. And Jochebed gave her baby up rather than accepting the death of that baby. Another lesson we can learn is from this story is Jochebed's courage. First of all, she did not fear the king. You know, I can just imagine she was one of those tough women. She said, I don't care what the king decrees. You know, God is going to save my baby. She had the courage to step out in faith and to make that basket and put that basket on the Nile, and knew that God would take it from there. You know, she could have let fear stop her and say, you know, if I put my baby out there, the crocodiles might get him. But she had the courage. She stepped out. She took action, and she stepped out on faith. She had total and complete trust in God. And I believe that Jochebed's faith and courage was instrumental in her raising up her 3 faithful, courageous children, because all 3 of her children were used mightily in the work of God. Miriam, even when she was a young girl, she had, some scholars say she was only 7. I don't know, some say she was older, maybe 11. But whatever, she was a young girl. But she had the courage to go and ask the princess if she needed a nursemaid, and then go and get her mom to be the nursemaid for her brother. She was later used as a prophetess and a worship leader in Israel. Aaron was a priest. He was one of the ones with Moses helping to lead the children out of Israel. He was a priest and he was a spokesman for Moses whenever they went to speak to the Pharaoh. And of course Moses, who was delivered from death at birth himself, was the one whom God used to deliver his people from slavery and death. And this deliverance that God made through Moses was a foreshadow of us being delivered by Jesus from spiritual bondage and sin and death. So Jochebed, mother of Moses, was an incredible example of faith and courage, and we can be too. Amen?
Brother, let's pray. Oh, blessed Father, our great creator and sustainer of all, giver of every good and perfect gift, we thank you, O great God, so very, very much for the gift of motherhood. Each and every one of us here today, Father, thank you for our moms, for they surely have been a source of strength for us, a blessing for us. They have stood in the gap for us, Father. From the very beginning, they have been there for us. They were the first to teach us of you, teach us of your will, teach us to have a relationship with you. They nourished and taught, and they prayed over us from the very beginning, Father. Even when we were out there being our own men, doing our own thing, thinking we were at least, our mothers were praying for us. To this very day, Father, those of us whose moms still are here, moms are still a blessing, they're still praying for us. So we thank you very, very much for them. We thank you for their strength. We thank you for their wisdom. We thank you for their courage. We thank you for their love. And we thank you, O great God, that you have allowed them to stand in the gap for us, to teach us of your love for us. So motherhood is a wonderful blessing, Father. And we're just thankful for this day which we celebrated. And we thank you, each and every one of us, for our moms. Amen. Amen.
And this video shows Jochebed's, her faith and her courage in all of this things that were happening in Egypt. And it just shows it, so we get to see it. This depiction is from Prince of Egypt. So you may have seen that movie. And it may look, there's some parts that are dramatic, as she's giving the basket. But it kind of shows that God's hand is on the basket and guiding it through all these dangerous things. So it's a great sequence. So let us